Good morning, everyone. I'm Eon, and I just wanted to start today with a quick scenario. Um, just imagine you're working full time, 40 hours a week at a job that demands your energy, patience, and effort. You're showing up on time, doing everything you've asked, everything, and you can still pay for your rent or cover your bills, or even afford like basic groceries. That's not just an unlucky situation for a few people, that's the reality for millions of Americans today. According to the Economic Policy Institute, the federal minimum wage has lost about 30% of its value since 1968 because it hasn't kept up with inflation. Or, in other words, if you're making a minimum wage, your paycheck buys you far less than it did for workers decades ago. So the federal minimum wage has been stuck as 7.25 hours since 2009. That's more than 15 years with an increase, even though the cost of living, food, rent, and healthcare and education has skyrocketed. The question we face is simple. Should we raise the federal minimum wage? I don't know. Well, this topic matters to us because we'll be entering the work phase soon. Whether it's a part-time job in high school, a summer job during college, or our first career role. The minimum wage impacts what we earn, how much independence we have, and even how far our economy feels. This topic matters. We stand is clear. The federal minimum wage should be raised because it is no longer supports workers. It hasn't been kept in place due to inflation. And raising it would help families strengthen the economy. So today, I'll walk you through the three main points. First, the problem caused by the current minimum wage. Second, the cause of those problems. And then finally, the solution and possible effects on raising it. First, let's talk about the problem. Millions of full-time workers simply cannot afford basic needs. The National Low Income Housing Coalition report that a worker would need to earn $25.82 per hour to afford modest two-bedroom rental at a fair market rent, which is just like minimum. Compare that to the $7.25 an hour. It's not even close. That means people can work full-time, play the roles, and still have enough to cover something as essential as housing. And another problem is that so many minimum wage workers end up relying on the government assistance to survive. Like a UC Berkeley Labor Center found that over 50% of fast food workers' family depend on public assistance programs like the food stamps or Medicaid. That doesn't just hurt the worker, it shifts to taxpayers. So in reality, we are all paying the price of low wages. So why is this happening? The biggest cause is that the federal minimum wage hasn't increased since 2009. That was 15 years ago. And in that time, cost of living exploded. The Bureau of Labor statistically shows that prices for essentials like food, housing, and healthcare have gone up since 30%, but wages have stayed flat. The gap leaves workers falling further and further behind. Another cause is who works minimum wage jobs. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, women and people are more likely to work in low wage jobs. That means when wage stays stagnant, it deepens inequality in society. Instead of being tool fairness, minimum wage often traps certain group in poverty. Now that we know that problems and their causes, let's talk about the solution to all this. The most straightforward solution would be to raise the minimum wage at least $15 an hour. The Congressional Budget Office companies pay more than 30 million workers across the country. That's not just numbers, that's real people able to buy groceries without skipping meals. Often, opponents often argue that raising the wage would hurt small businesses to lay off, but the evidence doesn't fully support that. That's not just numbers, that's real people being able to buy groceries without skipping meals. Think about it. Paying workers a fair wage isn't just about compassion, it's about common sense. When people have more money, they spend it in their communities. That boosts local businesses, increase demand, and strengthens the economy as a whole. In conclusion, let's bring it all together. First, I explained with the current minimum wage, workers can afford basic needs and taxpayers end up footing the bill through assistance programs. Then I explained the causes about that. And then finally I showed how raising would help. So the federal minimum wage should be raised because it no longer supports the workers. It has failed to keep pace with inflation, and raising it would give families and communities a chance at stability and success. I'll end this with this. No one who works full-time should have to choose between paying rent and putting food on the table. Hard work equals